Before I attempt to describe the letter I received from Martha Gellhorn, what it meant to me, what it contained, what it portended, and what became of it, I'd like to say a few words about who Martha was. She was a St. Louis gal who lived in the White House with Eleanor Roosevelt and Franklin Roosevelt for a time. She undertook a journalistic career. I believe her mentor for a while may have been H.G. Wells. I'm not sure about that. She married Ernest Hemingway for a while, who dedicated For Whom the Bell Tolls to her. But her reputation did not depend on any of those things, although she was arguably the closest and dearest friend of Eleanor Roosevelt. She went to Spain to cover the resistance to Franco, who she loathed, because she knew what was in store for Europe if Adolf Hitler won. She wrote for Collier's magazine articles like "Come Ahead, Adolf." She was with the president of Finland when the Russians invaded. They escaped together on skis. She snuck into Europe by hiding in the bathroom of a ship and saw the liberation of Berlin, the liberation of the Dachau concentration camp. She saw the Russians liberate Berlin. She was in China for a while, and during the war, her book, The Face of War, was reprinted when I was living in Montana with Kathy Hayford of North Whitefield. It was as if when I was in Missoula, Martha had thrown herself in my path. And knowing that I would read or absorb her mind and her spirit, and I wrote to her and she wrote back. It's an appreciable characteristic of government under loathsome people like Joseph Biden and Charles Grassley of Iowa, that American heritage is smushed under the jackboot of persons advocating for child molesters with names like Gutendorf. It's typical of Iowa to take sides with somebody who humiliated the son of a famous Iowa tennis player from the Victory at Sea, who traveled as a lieutenant through the Battle of Leyte Gulf, the largest maritime battle in human history, who wrote textbooks with Eisenhower's blessing on atoms for peace, human rights, civil liberties in higher education, and drove a school bus in retirement. None of that means anything to Grassley when Hitler Reagan says, "Sieg Heil" to me, Chuck. And they humiliated me. We got a report today of a doctor who was held at gunpoint for 2 days in his own urine and feces in Gaza by the Zios. This is the sort of thing they did to humiliate me and forcibly take everything I had, including the letter from Martha Gellhorn, to the blessings of Biden and Grassley, for no reason. That's really very important to note. So what did the letter contain? One of the things I knew from my experience on Mount Desert Island is that Gurdjieff had taken that ravenous, weird album in the Court of the Crimson King, literally. And they played a monstrous game, ravaging a child, tearing his ear out like the cover and portending a paranoia poison dialectic that they snickered was established at the outset with reverberators like figment and pigment. And they used death seed as a verbal weapon to designate AIDS, which they released as an attack. And Martha said, "Wait, are you telling me something?" She was aghast, but she had courage. She saw the liberation of Dachau. She wasn't about to let that pass. Snivellers calling people who were loyal to Kennedy ugly names like Pinko, making up dog-eating stories so they can justify targeting, paying for, and sponsoring abortions on children. These are the people who are the progenitors of the destruction of the United States. My name should have been protected. It was a pilgrim name, not targeted. These were not juvenile delinquents. These were Nazis. And they have the protection of Grassley and Biden. Stealing letters from Eleanor Roosevelt's best friend, robbing a museum in Pittsburgh, making up fairy tales that virginity proves rape, and then snickering as they lured me to Seattle, where they played a concentration camp game of HIV injection, giving me Parkinson's, they claim, as mercy. Pervert on pervert crime underlied the entire AIDS catastrophe. It was pervert on pervert. And the perverts who were the victims so identified with the other perverts that they couldn't see what was going on and wanted to climb on board and say, let us do it, let us do it, let us be recreational sadists, let us be evil, snickering poetry thieves. This was the whole cosmic consciousness of Seattle under the decordery of Ming-Na Wen and Peter Gabriel, ripper murdering innocent bystanders, leaving them in horrible pools of blood over what they claim was a sacred penny from the Russian Federation. Gail Burston, who wrote the script, was never even arrested, thanks to Grassley and Biden. They ruined Americans' heritage with a story as vile as Sobibor and Treblinka, which Gaza continues to be and will still be tonight and tomorrow because of Biden and Grassley and Holocaust terrorists. It was like they took a piece of paper and ripped it in half because it says, I don't want to be a rapist. It's like they took a piece of paper and ripped it in half because it was Eleanor Roosevelt's best friend who signed it. They took it from me by force at the University of Iowa. It may not look like it was taken by force, but it was. They tortured me, and they made clear I may have no material possessions. That's why they ripper murdered Shannon Harps, to make clear that I was not allowed to have any material possessions. I was like that poor man standing in his own urine and feces. And they did it to somebody because I symbolized the United States of America. Make no mistake. These are not patriots. These are Nazis. To them, Eleanor Roosevelt's name has no meaning at all. They stole and destroyed a picture my grandfather took of her at the UN Plaza. Took in and destroyed it. Took in and destroyed evidence in Robert Kennedy's murder. I love Sarah San on a 1966 Kodak dated photograph. No to Eleanor Roosevelt. Yes to Gutendorf. That's Grassley and Biden for you.